Some lessons only come through blood. Three older girls corner a quiet teenager in an alley after school. They mock her. They pull her hair. When she tries to walk away, the biggest one drives a knee straight into her face. Her nose shatters. Blood pours down her uniform. They film it, laughing, and post it online with one caption. Nobody's coming to save you. But that girl is Steven Seagal's daughter. That night, her father watches the video. He doesn't call the police. He doesn't call a lawyer. He calls the dojo. The next morning, all 6'4" of him walks into that school dressed in black and requests a meeting with every parent involved. 3 families arrive arrogant, expecting their money to make this quietly disappear. But what happens when Seagal plays that video at full volume? If the story hooks you, like and subscribe for more. Now, let me tell you about the girl. Because most people hear the name Seagal and they picture the father. The action movies. The black outfit. The intimidation. But this story isn't really about him. Not yet. It's about her. Seagal's daughter was 15 years old. Quiet. Polite. The kind of kid who sat in the middle of the classroom and never raised her hand. Not because she didn't know the answer, but because she didn't want the attention. And that was by design. Seagal made a decision early on that his children would not grow up in the spotlight. No red carpets. No paparazzi. No Hollywood birthday parties with cameras rolling. He wanted her to have something he never had. A normal life. And for a while it worked. She went to a regular school. She had regular friends. She rode the bus. She packed her own lunch. Nobody at that school knew who her father was. That was the whole point. But here's the thing about keeping your head down. Sometimes it makes you a target. The bullying didn't start with the knee. Believe me, it never starts with the worst thing. It started weeks earlier. Small things. A whisper in the hallway. A shove near the lockers. Someone knocking her books off the desk and walking away laughing. One of the girls wrote a note and passed it around the class. The note said things about her weight, about her clothes, about the way she walked. The kind of cruelty that only teenage girls know how to sharpen into a blade. She never told her father. Not once. She thought she could outlast it. She thought if she stayed quiet, stayed invisible, they'd get bored and move on. That's what they tell you to do, isn't it? Ignore them. Don't react. Be the bigger person. But that advice only works when the other side has a limit. These girls didn't have one. Now get this. Seagal had no idea any of this was happening. He trained every morning at 5. He worked late. He trusted that his daughter was safe because she never gave him a reason to think otherwise. And that's the thing about being a man who spent his whole life reading threats. He could spot danger in a stranger's eyes from across a room. But he couldn't see what was happening to his own daughter 3 miles from his front door. The night he found the video, he wasn't looking for it. A friend sent him a link. No context. Just the link and 3 words. Is this her? He clicked it. And there it was. His daughter. His child. On a screen. Being beaten. He watched it once. His jaw tightened. He watched it a second time. His hands went flat on the table. He watched it a third time and something behind his eyes changed. Not anger. Something quieter. Something worse. The kind of calm that comes right before a man decides exactly what he's going to do and nothing in the world is going to stop him. He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He picked up the phone, called the dojo, and spoke to his oldest student for less than 2 minutes. Then he hung up, walked to his closet, and pulled out a black shirt, black pants, black shoes. He laid them on the bed like a uniform. His wife asked him what he was doing. He said one sentence. I'm going to her school in the morning. The way he said it, she didn't ask a second question. That next morning, Seagal drove to the school at 7:45. He parked right in front. He walked through the main doors, and every head in that lobby turned. 6'4", 260 pounds, shoulders that filled the hallway. He walked straight to the front office and spoke to the receptionist with a voice so calm it made her nervous. I need a meeting. Today. With the principal and the parents of 3 students. He gave the names. The receptionist looked at the screen, then looked at him, and picked up the phone without asking why. By noon, the meeting was set. The principal made the calls. 3 families. 3 sets of parents. All of them told the same thing. There's been an incident. Come to the school. Bring identification. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because those 3 families, they showed up together. And they didn't show up scared. They showed up ready. Smiling. Whispering to each other in the parking lot like they'd already rehearsed their excuses. One mother brought her lawyer's business card. One father wore a suit he obviously saved for situations where he needed to look important. They walked into that conference room like they owned it, took their seats, crossed their arms, and waited. Seagal was already sitting at the far end of the table. He'd been there for 20 minutes. Silent. Still. Hands folded in front of him. He didn't greet them. He didn't stand. He didn't even look up. Not yet. And that silence did more damage than any words could. Because these were people used to controlling rooms. Used to talking first, talking loudest, and walking away with whatever they wanted. But you can't outtalk a man who won't speak. You can't intimidate a man who's already decided how this ends. The principal cleared his throat, adjusted his tie, opened a folder, and the meeting began. But what none of them knew, what not a single person in that room understood, was that Seagal didn't come to talk. He came to show them something, and once they saw it, nothing would ever be the same. The principal started the way principals always do, careful, neutral, trying to sound fair without actually saying anything. He used words like alleged incident and behavioral concern and moving forward together, the kind of language designed to protect the school, not the child. Then he turned it over to the parents. And this is where it got ugly. The first mother spoke up immediately. Her daughter, she said, was a good girl, an honor student, active in volleyball. This is clearly a misunderstanding, she said. Girls have disagreements. It's part of growing up. The second father leaned forward and said something worse. He said his daughter told him the girl fell, tripped on her own feet, that no one touched her. He said it with a straight face. And believe me, nobody in that room flinched. The third family. Now get this. The third family was the worst. The father sat back in his chair, arms crossed, half smiling. Like this whole meeting was wasting his Saturday. He didn't even address what happened. Instead, he looked at the principal and said, "My daughter has been at this school for 4 years with a clean record. Whatever this girl is claiming, I'd like to see proof." Proof. That word hung in the air for about 3 seconds. And that's when everything changed. Seagal moved for the first time. Slowly, deliberately, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. He placed it face up in the center of the table. The screen was already loaded, already queued. He didn't say a word. He just pressed play. The video started. And the room died. You could hear every sound. The girls laughing. The words they used. The moment they grabbed her hair. And then, the knee. The crack of cartilage. The gasp. The blood. The camera shaking because the girl filming was laughing so hard she couldn't hold still. And then the caption, read aloud by the phone's accessibility feature. "Nobody's coming to save you." The video lasted 41 seconds. Felt like 41 minutes. When it ended, no one moved. The mother who called it a misunderstanding had her hand over her mouth. The father who said his daughter had a clean record was staring at the table. The one who said the girl tripped? His face had gone completely white. Seagal let the silence sit. He let it do its work. Then he stood up. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just stood. And the room felt smaller. He looked at the first father. Then the second. Then the third. One by one. Eye to eye. And when he finally spoke, his voice was low. Steady. The kind of voice that doesn't need volume because every word already carries weight. "Your daughters need my child in the face. They filmed it. They posted it online. And they laughed while they did it. He paused. Let that land. I'm giving you one chance to make this right. One. Because if I handle it my way, and I promise you I know many ways, you won't need a lawyer. You'll need a surgeon. Now, before you think this is where fists start flying, let me stop you. Because that's not what happened. And that's not who Seagal was trying to be. Not anymore. He said what he said. And then he sat back down, folded his hands, and waited. The room moved fast after that. The principal, who had been useless for 20 minutes, suddenly found his spine. Suspension was mentioned, then expulsion. The parents tried to push back, but the video was already on that table, already burned into everyone's memory. There was no arguing with 41 seconds of evidence. Within 48 hours, all 3 girls were expelled. All 3 families issued written apologies. Public ones. Not the quiet, behind closed doors kind. The kind that go on record. The school revised its entire anti-bullying policy. And Seagal's daughter received a formal letter of apology from the school board itself. And here's where most people think the story ends. Believe me, I thought so too. Because what came next looked like peace. Seagal enrolled his daughter in Aikido at his personal dojo. Not a commercial gym. His space. His mats. His rules. Every morning at 5:15, before the sun was fully up, father and daughter trained together. He didn't yell. He didn't push her past her limits. He moved slowly, showed her how to breathe, how to stand, how to fall without breaking. Weeks passed. Her nose healed. The bruises faded. She started sleeping through the night again. She smiled more, talked more, even went back to school with her shoulders a little straighter than before. The video disappeared from the internet. The 3 girls were gone. The parents were silent. The neighborhood moved on. And if you looked at that family from the outside, you'd think the worst was behind them. You'd think Seagal fixed it. You'd think justice was served and the chapter was closed. And for a while, for a quiet, peaceful while, it really did feel like it was over. 6 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon, Seagal's daughter walked out of a grocery store carrying 2 bags. She was alone. The parking lot was half empty, and standing next to a silver car about 30 feet away were 3 girls. One of them she recognized immediately. It was her, the one who threw the knee. Now here's the thing. That girl had been expelled, humiliated publicly. Her family had been forced to apologize in writing. Her name had been in the local press. And in her mind, every single bit of that suffering was caused by one person. Not herself. Not her own cruelty. No, she blamed Seagal's daughter. The girl who didn't fight back. The girl whose father showed up and ruined her life. 6 months of anger had been building inside her. And today, in this parking lot, she saw her chance. The 2 new girls with her weren't from the old school. They were friends from the neighborhood. Bigger, louder, already laughing before anything even started. And one of them had her phone out, already recording. That detail matters. Remember it. The bully called out first. Something sharp. Something about how her daddy wasn't here to protect her now. Seagal's daughter kept walking. Didn't look up. Didn't respond. Just kept moving toward the crosswalk with her grocery bags. But the girl followed. And the other 2 fanned out, blocking the path. Now stop for a second. Think about what's happening here. This isn't the same situation as the alley. This is worse. Because this time there are cameras rolling from the start. This time, if Seagal's daughter fights back, she becomes the story. She becomes the aggressor. The daughter of a famous action star beating up a teenage girl in a parking lot. The headlines write themselves. The lawsuits write themselves. Everything Seagal tried to protect her from. The spotlight, the media, the public destruction of her privacy. All of it comes crashing down the second she throws a single punch. And she knew it. Believe me, she knew exactly what was at stake. The bully stepped closer, got in her face, said things I won't repeat here because they don't deserve to be remembered. The 2 friends circled behind. One of them shoved her from the back. The grocery bags hit the ground. A carton of eggs cracked open on the pavement. Seagal's daughter straightened up. She didn't step back. She didn't cry. She didn't reach for her phone. She stood exactly the way her father taught her. Feet shoulder-width apart, weight centered, hands open at her sides, breathing through her nose. And in that moment, something else was happening. Something none of those girls could see. Because while they were circling and laughing and recording, her mind went somewhere else. Back to the dojo. Back to 5:15 in the morning. Back to her father's hands correcting her posture for the 100th time. She remembered the first week. How she couldn't even fall correctly. How every throw left bruises on her hips and shoulders. How she wanted to quit after the third day. She told her father she wasn't built for this. He didn't argue. He just said, "Show up tomorrow." So she did. And the day after that. And the one after that. By the second month, she stopped flinching. By the third, she started reading movement. Not just reacting to it. Seeing it before it happened. Her father would throw a technique and she'd already be shifting her weight before his hand reached her. That's when he smiled for the first time on the mat. Not a big smile. Just a nod and a slight curve at the corner of his mouth. And she knew. She was getting it. By month 4, he started testing her differently. He'd come at her without warning. In the kitchen. In the hallway. Walking to the car. Not to hurt her. Just to see if she was paying attention. She blocked everyone. And each time he said the same thing. Good. Again. Month 5. He told her something that changed the way she thought about everything. He said, "The strongest person in any room is the one who doesn't need to prove it." He said it while tying her white belt. She didn't understand it then. But standing in this parking lot, with 3 girls closing in and a phone recording every second, she understood it now. 6 months of her father's voice in her ear. Aikido is not about hurting someone. It's about making sure they can never hurt you. She heard that voice now, clear as morning. The bully was close enough to touch, close enough to smell, and she was winding up for the same move. The signature, the knee, the one that shattered bones 6 months ago. She wanted to do it again, wanted to prove the first time wasn't a fluke, wanted to film it and post it and show the whole world that nothing had changed. She cocked her leg, and in that half-second, Seagal's daughter made her decision. Not with her fists, not with anger, not with fear, with something her father spent 6 months building inside her. Something that doesn't show up on camera. Something those girls couldn't see. Training. The knee came forward. Fast. Hard. Aimed straight at her face. The exact same angle. The exact same target. But this time something was different. This time, the girl standing in front of it was not the same person who stood in that alley. Not even close. She didn't block it. That's the first thing people get wrong when they hear this part. She didn't throw her arms up. She didn't turn away. She didn't duck. She did something that looked almost impossible if you didn't know what you were watching. She caught it. Not with force. With redirection. Her left hand came up and met the knee at the side. Not head-on. At the angle. She guided the leg past her body the way a river guides a stone. Smooth. Controlled. The bully's weight shifted forward because there was nothing to land against. And in that same breath, Seagal's daughter stepped to the side, dropped her center of gravity, and swept the girl's standing leg out from under her. The bully hit the pavement. Hard. Back flat on the asphalt. Arms spread. The air knocked out of her lungs in one sharp gasp. It was a textbook Aikido throw. Clean. Efficient. Not a single punch. Not a single kick. Not a single ounce of anger behind it. Just physics. Just training. Just 6 months of 5:15 mornings compressed into 2 seconds of perfect movement. The parking lot went silent. The 2 friends froze. The phone was still recording, but the girl holding it had lowered it slightly, her mouth half open. Nobody expected that. Nobody planned for the quiet girl with the grocery bags to move like that. To move like her father. The bully was on her back, staring up at the sky, trying to figure out what just happened. She wasn't hurt. Not really. Nothing was broken. Nothing was bleeding. But she was on the ground, completely neutralized. And she knew. In that moment, lying on warm asphalt with the sun in her eyes, she knew it was over. Not just today. All of it. Seagal's daughter looked down at her. No rage on her face. No satisfaction. No trembling. Just calm. The kind of calm that takes years to fake and only seconds to recognize when it's real. And she said 2 words. The same 2 words her father taught her to say if this moment ever came. Never again. Then she bent down, picked up her grocery bags, turned around, and walked away. Not a scratch on her. Not a hair out of place. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. The phone captured everything. All of it. The approach. The shove. The knee. The catch. The throw. The 2 words. And within hours, that video was everywhere. But this time, it told a different story. This wasn't bullying footage. This was something else entirely. A girl who refused to be a victim. A girl who defended herself without violence. A girl who walked away clean. The comments poured in. Thousands of them. Then tens of thousands. People shared it not because it was shocking but because it was satisfying in a way that most things on the internet never are. Justice. Real justice. Not the legal kind. Not the courtroom kind. The kind where someone who was broken gets back up and proves they can't be broken again. Seagal saw the video that same evening. His wife showed it to him on her phone. And here's the part that matters most. He didn't smile because of the throw. He didn't nod because of the technique. He felt something deeper than pride. He felt relief. Because his daughter didn't become him. She didn't explode. She didn't dominate. She didn't turn into the person the world expected Steven Seagal's child to be. She became something better. Something he wasn't sure he was capable of building. A person who could stand in the fire and choose not to burn everything around her. That's the payoff. That's what the title promised you. The Bullies had no clue who her father was. And by the end, they had no clue who she had become. If this story has you hooked, take a second and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. Now, the aftermath. The Bullies family came back swinging. Not physically this time. Legally. Within a week of the parking lot video going viral, the girl's parents hired an attorney and filed an assault complaint against Seagal's daughter. They claimed she used excessive force. They claimed she was trained in martial arts and therefore should be held to a higher standard. They wanted charges. They wanted damages. They wanted the video taken down. And for about 72 hours, it looked like it might work. The story hit the local news. Not the way you'd expect. The headline wasn't about a bully getting what she deserved. It was about whether a martial artist's daughter had the right to defend herself. Talking heads argued on both sides. Some said she was justified. Others said she should have walked away. Lawyers weighed in. Commentators weighed in. People who had never been cornered in a parking lot in their lives weighed in. Seagal said nothing publicly. Not a word. He didn't post a statement. He didn't call a press conference. He didn't go on television. He let the video speak for itself. And that was the smartest thing he could have done. Because here's what the Bullies family didn't count on. The phone that recorded the parking lot incident didn't just capture the throw. Captured everything before the throw. The approach. The taunting. The circling. The shove from behind. The knee aimed at the face. All of it. In order. With audio. And when the police reviewed the full footage, unedited, from beginning to end, they didn't see an assault. They saw a textbook case of self-defense. The complaint was dismissed. Not reduced. Not negotiated. Dismissed. The officer who reviewed the case wrote one sentence in his report that said more than any headline. The respondent used the minimum force necessary to neutralize an unprovoked physical attack. Minimum force necessary. That's what 6 months of Aikido training looks like from the outside. From the inside, it looks like a girl who had every reason to break someone's jaw and chose not to. The Bullies family went quiet after that. No more lawsuits. No more press. No more threats. The attorney dropped the case, and if the rumors are true, he dropped the family as clients too. Because even lawyers know when the footage tells the whole story. As for the 3 original Bullies, now get this. 2 of them transferred to different schools in different districts. They never reached out. Never apologized again. Just disappeared into the kind of silence that comes when people know they lost and don't want to be reminded of it. But the 3rd girl, The one who threw the knee both times. She did something no one expected. About 3 months after the parking lot incident, a letter arrived at Seagal's home. Handwritten. No return address. It was short. It wasn't eloquent. The handwriting was messy and the grammar wasn't perfect. But it was real. Said she was sorry. Not the way her parents made her say it the first time. Not the kind of sorry that comes with a lawyer standing over your shoulder. This was different. She wrote that she watched the parking lot video over 100 times. And that every time she watched it, she didn't see herself hitting the ground. She saw the look on the daughter's face after. The calm, the control, the 2 words. And she said that look haunted her more than any punishment ever could. Because it was the look of someone who could have destroyed her and chose not to. Seagal read the letter. He didn't show it to his daughter right away. He sat with it for a few days, thought about it. And then one morning before training, he handed it to her on the mat. She read it once, folded it, put it in her bag, and they trained. She never mentioned it again. But Seagal noticed something after that day. She trained differently, not harder, not faster, softer, more patient, like something inside her had finally unclenched. Like the last piece of weight she'd been carrying from that alley had finally been set down. And that's when he knew. It was really over. Not because the legal threat was gone. Not because the bullies had scattered. Not because the internet had moved on. It was over because his daughter had moved on. Not past it. Through it. There's a difference. Moving past something means you leave it behind and try to forget. Moving through something means you carry the lesson and leave the pain. She carried the lesson. There was one more thing that happened in the weeks that followed. Something small. Something most people wouldn't even notice. But it mattered. Seagal's daughter went back to the grocery store. The same one. Same parking lot. Same time of day. She didn't have to. There were other stores closer to home. Her mother even asked her why she insisted on going there. She didn't explain. She just grabbed her keys and drove. She parked in the same spot. Walked in. Bought what she needed. Walked out. Stood in the parking lot for a moment. Looked around. Nobody was there. No one waiting. No one circling. Just cars and quiet. She put the bags in the trunk and drove home. Now that might not sound like much. But if you've ever been afraid of a place, if you've ever avoided a street or a room because something happened to you there, then you know, going back is everything. It means the place doesn't own you anymore. It means you took it back. She took it back. Months later, life settled into something that looked ordinary from the outside. Seagal's daughter went back to school, made new friends, kept her head down the way she always had. But something was different in the way she moved through the world. Not louder, not bolder, just steadier, like a person who had been tested and didn't need to prove it to anyone. There was a morning, about a year after the whole thing. Seagal was sitting on the edge of the mat, wrapping his wrists, and his daughter walked in already dressed, already warmed up. She bowed before stepping on the mat the way he taught her. And something about the way she moved, the stillness in her shoulders, the straightness of her spine, made him stop. He looked at her the way a man looks at something he built with his own hands. Not with pride exactly, with wonder, because she wasn't the girl who walked into this dojo with a broken nose and fear in her eyes. She was someone else now, someone he respected, not as his child, as a martial artist, as a person. He didn't say any of that. He just stood up, stepped onto the mat, and began. She still trained every morning with her father. Not because she had to, not because she was afraid, because it had become their language. Other fathers and daughters talked over dinner or drove together in the car. Seagal and his daughter spoke on the mat. In movement, in breathing, in the quiet understanding that strength isn't what you show the world. It's what you keep inside when the world gives you every reason to let it out. Seagal himself changed too. People close to him said he was quieter after all of it. Not sad, not withdrawn, just settled. Like a man who had spent decades proving he was the toughest person in any room and had finally realized that wasn't the point. The point was never about being the strongest. It was about building something stronger than yourself. And he did. Now, I want you to think back to where this started. An alley, a teenage girl walking home from school, a knee to the face, blood on a uniform, a caption on a screen. Nobody's coming to save you. They were right. Nobody came to save her. Not that day. Not in the parking lot 6 months later. Nobody swooped in. Nobody fought her battles. Nobody stood between her and the thing that was trying to break her. She saved herself. Not with her father's fists. Not with his fame. Not with his name. With his gift. The one thing he gave her that nobody could take away. The discipline to stay standing when everything inside you wants to fall. The wisdom to know that real strength isn't about what you can do to someone. It's about what you choose not to do. Because Steven Seagal didn't just raise a daughter. He forged a warrior who would never need saving again. And that, believe me, is the greatest fight he ever won.